Gears of War is known for three things: big roided up men, chainsawing your foes in half,
Whee!
and cowering behind waist-high cover. However, hiding behind cover has always been for losers, so I'm going to beat all of Gears of War on Insane solo without ever using the cover mechanic. Now before I start, I will explain this statement just in case a non-Gears player decides to watch the video. If you play Gears, the premise makes total sense, but if not, here you go. In Gears, tons of the level is specifically built so that you can take cover behind the different objects using a specific keybind. In my case, that is spacebar, since I would be playing on mouse and keyboard, and this will snap you into cover and allow you to safely sit there, along with you being able to blind fire around the corner, chuck nades from behind cover, or just scoot back and forth behind a wall that you're taking cover behind. Outside of an enemy flanking you or some weird angle, you can literally just sit behind the cover as long as you want, laughing at the Locust's feeble attempts to defeat you. The enemy AI also appears to act a little bit differently when one is taking cover versus when they're not. So in this run, I'm not going to be using that mechanic at all. Now, will I manually stand behind a pillar or a wall? Yes, of course. The game is literally impossible on Insane without some form of shield from enemy fire, but I will not be using the cover mechanic built into the game. If you've played the original Gears, I'm sure one fight specifically comes to mind when you think of this challenge idea, and that is Raw. And don't worry, we're gonna get there, but for now, let's see what the wiki says about playing the game on Insane. Alright, so it says, in this mode, players are severely punished for not using cover. And it also goes on to say that cover is a necessity in all firefights. Well, that's not good. Let's get started, I guess. So Act 1 would begin with our good old buddy Dom freeing us from our jail cell to help him in his fight against the Locust, and like all seasoned gamers, I would make sure to skip the training section and get straight to combat. Right off the rip, I realized the controls were going to be really annoying for this, as I was hoping I'd be able to bind cover to a different button, then sprint and roll. However, it's all bound to a single action. This means that using that button during battle could lead to us accidentally snapping into cover, which would be an instant fail for the challenge. And just to be clear, if this happened, I would just reset to a checkpoint. We wouldn't like restart the whole game or anything. So on our way to the prison blocks, I would run into the first encounter with the Locust and easily dispatch of the few foes that were there, while making sure to ignore the prompt on screen telling us how to take cover, because like I said earlier, cover is for losers, and obviously Marcus isn't a loser, and I've always aspired to not be a loser, so you know. After clearing the first two enemies though, I would run into a broken pillar or whatever this is laying on the ground, and it would actually require us to mantle over it to make any progress. Since this is required though, and not a part of combat, I would hop on over this really quickly, and we would continue on making sure to only ever do this during portions that it was absolutely necessary to do this to progress. There are tons of these that also just block off like additional ammo or a power weapon, and we would skip all of those as we would only jump over these if it was 100% mandatory to progress the level. Following this would be another combat arena where I would take advantage of the hammerhead, which is actually pretty cracked on mouse and keyboard, to put in some really good damage in on the Locust, and I would even get to throw my first grenades. However, to throw grenades when you're not taking cover, you actually kind of just have to like stand in the open to aim them, which almost got me killed in this scenario, but hey, I Kobe'd it successfully into the room, and boom went the Locust dude. Next up, some Locusts would break into the room, and I tried priming a grenade for them ahead of time to kill them, and like many times in this game, well, that wasn't successful. But also Dom would just go and instantly get downed for like the first of many times during this challenge, because oh my, the AI in Gears is quite the treat. Now after Dom died, I learned the art of standing behind a wall can be a little bit gimmicky, as unlike being able to properly take cover, standing behind a wall depending on the angle can leave you a lot more vulnerable to damage. And well, what? Dom is dead? Okay, thanks Dom. Oh boy. Oh boy. We are also dead. Alright, we're off to a good start. So roughly 5 minutes into the challenge, I already had my first death. And I would even end up dying once more on this room before heading outside to finish this portion of the level. Outside wasn't too difficult, as I was mostly able to stand behind this broken section of a wall, popping out to take out the Locust with our hammerhead. This would conclude the first level, and following this, some random dude would berate us for being a traitor.
You! Traitor like you doesn't deserve to wear the uniform.
Looks to me like you need all the help you can get.
Step aside.
but like Marcus greater than some random dude, so literally no one cared what he had to say. And then the first of many sad Gears deaths would happen as we would watch Carmine get his head ripped off by a sniper. This would get us into the next combat section where I would test out the pistol a little bit, quickly realizing how bullet spongy the enemies are on Insane, and I even got a nice chainsaw kill with the Lancer, which is pretty much just a staple of playing Gears. Directly after this I would get ambushed by a group of locusts, and honestly this room wasn't too difficult as I would just Lancer down most of the enemies, and I even found a hammerhead on the floor, which was pretty hype. I also realized that I am absolutely terrible at timing my active reloads, like really bad. Like I probably jammed my gun 100+ times during the whole run.
Come on.
Continuing on, I would approach whatever you would describe this building as and run into our next slight hiccup in the run, and that hiccup was a locust smashing our face in for being a little bit too aggressive. That is my friend. Dude, oh my god. Oh my, okay. Alright, bad idea, chat. Here's when I realized that on Insane, especially without being able to take cover, we would need to play a lot slower than I'm usually used to playing Gears. Now granted, it's been years since I played Gears, but I feel like I usually would be a lot more aggressive than we needed to be for this challenge. After a few more deaths, I would finally progress through this room, but in reality, most of these deaths were just me being in a bad position or being impatient, rather than specifically not being able to take cover. As we continued on, I would also find this dead guy, and our team would set onto our new objective, which was to get the resonator. The following section would show us the basics of flanking some Troika turrets, and then I would end up in this town center type area where a variety of emergence holes would pop up. Here I would end up dying a few times, even running out of grenades to fill the holes, as the game expected you to jump into the middle area to pick up some more grenades. And since this wasn't a mandatory progression section, I wouldn't jump into the middle, but luckily if you just stand there and kill all the locusts for a while, eventually the holes just collapse on their own. Directly after this would be one of those peak Gears decisions where you would pick whether or not you want to go right or left, and I would go right because right greater than left, and I would slowly progress through the next area, even getting to use a Troika a little bit to mow down some foes. Eventually I would run into the room where you need to flank another turret, and I would have my first of many accidental covers of the run. Okay, let's see if we can... okay. We failed. So I would just reset to the checkpoint and continue on. Following this, I would head back outside to begin our attack on a different building, which is pretty straightforward. And eventually we would get another turret section, allowing us to mow down some more locusts. A little bit further on, I would meet up with probably the coolest Gears 1 character, good old Coltrane. Oh, we found Cole.
Yeah, that was beautiful, baby.
State your name, soldier.
Private Augustus Cole, Alpha Squad, sir.
Coal? As in the coal train?
Yeah, that's right.
But at this point the challenge was pretty straightforward, without any sections that I was truly getting stuck on. Rather, just an extra death here or there since I couldn't take cover, or would put myself in a bad position that I wouldn't be able to roll out of without, snapping onto cover. The next section would be the quote-unquote hardest so far, as I would have to defend Jack while he ripped a door open while a bunch of wretches attacked us. Wretches in general are probably one of the most annoying enemies in Gears, and you would think not taking cover against them wouldn't matter. However, it sort of does in a roundabout way. It did what? Okay, alright. Oh, there it is. Oh, okay. Alright, maybe this section's gonna be harder than I realized. What are you fragging? Alright, we did it. I would continue on and kill another dude with the sky laser and continue on progressing, running into the second mandatory mantle location. But luckily for us, outside of some really dumb deaths, Act 1 would continue to mostly be a breeze, with the most annoying section being this portion where you use a turret to clear out the locusts below, while also needing to kill the nemesis that were in the air. This section, like most so far though, just posed some difficulty due to it being on Insane, and not really the challenge itself. Rom would show up and be a badass villain killing some guy that literally no one cares about, and lead us to our first berserker in the game, and similar to the wretches, you wouldn't think the challenge would add much difficulty to these fights, and in reality they aren't that much more difficult, but you do just have to make sure that you don't roll into a wall and take cover when you're trying to avoid the charges. Well, after some dodging and some lasering, we would use the Sky Laser to kill the Berserker and end Act 1 with about 26 deaths and about 1 hour and 40 minutes of playtime. How many times do you have to Sky Laser this thing? I guess the answer to that question is many times. Many times do you have to Sky Laser the thing. There we go. We got it. Marcus would even get a promotion. Woohoo! Act 2 would throw us into a fight against our first boomers, but luckily we just chucked some nades at them and they went boom, and we would go on to locate a sniper rifle, which was basically the best gun for the rest of the challenge. I would just sit in the back and pop off shots while letting the AI get up close and personal for me. Funnily enough, I also felt like we always had enough sniper ammo, which was not how I remembered Gears before doing this playthrough. Act 2 would have our third mandatory mantle section, which allowed me to practice my inner track star, and as they say, she's a runner, she's a track star. That was peak singing if you ask me. I wonder what good old Mooski is up to these days. The rest of Act 2 until the stranded camp was basically just a lot more sniping and a lot more standing behind whatever pillars or walls that I could find with a nice bias toward any wall that we could peek out on the right side, since Gears doesn't allow you to switch the shoulder that you're looking over. Following the stranded camp, it would become night, which would have us taking on the Krill for the first time in the game, or in reality, basically just avoiding them as they were an instant kill anytime you were in the darkness. And I actually thought this section was going to end up really difficult, but it actually ended up being pretty simple. And outside of this one section where you had to push a car, for the most part, it was pretty straightforward, and I just leaned heavily on my sniper crutch. There was even a fancy section where I got to shine a light on Dom for him to run down the street, and the only section that really caused us any issues was this one area where I had to deal with an emergence hole across a dark courtyard, and after a bunch of deaths trying to play it a bit slower like we had been playing, I eventually beat it by just tossing a nade and then pushing up. We double naded it for good measure.
Who's next?
Alright, sounds like I got it. I feel like when it makes the crunching sound is when you got it. Oh god. Oh, they are angry, and they are right outside the door. Okay, alright, we're still alive, we're still living. As long as I don't get them close so they can't just one shotgun me again, we should be good. Oh no. No! There's not really cover to get behind. Okay. Whew. Got a little scared there, not gonna lie. Also, shout out Dom's chainsaw right here. What's going on with your chainsaw, buddy? As we continued on, we got to meet this nice drunk dude, because what better time to get completely wasted than in the middle of a war? And he would turn on some lights in a house, allowing us to progress through, and that would get us to the gas station, almost ready to get in our ride and continue on. At the gas station was this really annoying dude, and a nice locust ambush that luckily didn't cause too many problems. And next came the really fun driving section. Like all good 360 games, Gears 1 made sure to have a mandatory driving section to spice up the gameplay, and this section isn't at all relevant to the challenge because it's literally just driving and pointing a light at the Krill, but I just wanted to remind people how dumb this section is. Luckily, it's pretty short overall, and we would quickly get back to the stranded camp to hold off the locust attack. That is a giant hole. Okay, thank you. Thanks, game. There we go. Burn, bitch. After fighting off the locust, we would close out Act 2, now sitting at 41 deaths in about 3 hours and 15 minutes, which isn't too bad of progress considering how long it had been since the last time I had played Gears. The next section of the game, though, is arguably the worst level in all of Gears, besides, you know, maybe the driving section we just did, and Act 3 would open up with the squad reaching the outskirts of a mining facility, where we would get to fight our favorite enemies in Gears, the Wretches. But this time, due to emulsion exposure, they are now explosive, which makes them even more fun to fight, especially when rolling away could lead to an instant fail if we accidentally take cover. Now, to be honest, even outside of this challenge, the Lambent Wretches are just zero fun to fight, and if you disagree, I worry about you. Well, after a few deaths on the outside, I would head on into the mining facility where the real fun would begin. In the facility, we would meet this nice lad who thought we were there to rescue him. However, unfortunately,
If we cut through here, we'll be all right.
And this section would actually be the first section in this act to really cause us problems, as falling through the wooden floor would drop us into a pit full of lambent wrenches, and me being the dummy that I am, spent many deaths, completely forgetting that you're supposed to climb back up a ladder, and instead I just stood in the pit and fought them to the death, where I'm pretty sure they endlessly spawn. Or sometimes I accidentally took cover and also had to reset to the checkpoint. Well, after realizing how dumb I am, we slowly made our way across the rickety wood, and continued on to the next section where we got the pleasure of fighting both the regular locust and the lambent wretches at the same time. Oh wait, there's regular enemies here too? What do they think this is? What just happened to me? This was a real exciting moment, but nothing too crazy. It was just a section I had to take my time on and slowly grind through, though I won't lie, this section was getting to me a little bit. I don't play melee, but I feel like melee, I'm going insane. Where would I rank the campaign for this? I would have ranked it a lot higher until I remembered replaying this fucking mission, BHB. Jesus. After a handful or so more deaths though, I worked my way through that section of the level. I'm missing his head.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, there we go. Spyro, don't put that energy on me. Alright, that's the beautiful sound. The beautiful sound! And then enter the minecart area, which automatically snaps you into cover, which obviously is very unfortunate for the challenge, but since it was mandatory and there's nothing you could do about it, I would continue on closing out the level, killing some boomers, and riding a drill platform down into the mine. Heading down into the mine was mostly just as annoying as above, with a bunch of lambent wretches to get on my nerves. Progressing through with our handy dandy sniper shotgun combo, I would eventually get to the Corpser boss fight, which luckily for us had literally zero cover you could even take, so this would just be a straight up normal boss fight on Insane. After getting stomped a few times, not realizing how the mechanic works, or just dying to my favorite wretches. Oh. I jammed my gun.
Gotta find a way to kill it.
Okay, mark it, or Dom? If you want to kill it so badly, why don't you do it? I'm working out here, but fuck. Eventually, I figured out how the mechanics worked again, and... Oh, smashable clamp.
There's gotta be a way to stop it.
Hold on. Do I have to get him to stomp on this shit? Yeah, okay, I see it. I see what we're doing here. There we go. Once we figured out what was going on, it was pretty easy. All things considered, only dying on this boss fight 5 times meant it was pretty much a breeze. However, soon we would start to hit the point where the difficulty would finally ramp up for the challenge. This ramp up in difficulty would come right at the end of Act 3 with the introduction of not only the Torque Bow, but also the Theron Guard. These not only are extremely badass looking Locust, but they are armored enemies that often have a Torque Bow as a weapon. In general on Insane, these are hard enough, but without the ability to properly take cover, they constantly stick you with torque bow shots that kill you in a single shot. Oh no! This section alone would cause me over 10 deaths until we eventually got a good run and slowly made our way through, making sure not to over push because that would lead to a guaranteed death. The Theron Guards are also the first point in the game where the sniper rifle isn't just easy mode, as they pretty much just eat bullets. So in general, you either have to pump them full of bullets or stick them with a torque bow of your own. They just eat sniper shots. I guess that's probably why it gives you the torque bow for this section. There we go, I got his leg. There, we did it.
Nice job.
We did it. Let's go. Clearing this out would allow us to set the resonator and end Act 3 with a cool 89 deaths. Act 4 would open up with some pretty basic combat out in the open and then lead us into another mandatory mantle section that leads straight into a fight with a feeder and this mean locust dude. Oh, hello. I am very dead. Oh my god, they have a chainsaw? Bro. Who said they get chainsaws? We have the chainsaws. This section would actually cause me some troubles, but eventually I fought my way through all the locusts and was able to use the sky laser to shoot the cedar, spawning an emergence hole in the process, and in reality I probably should have died here with multiple Theron guards right on top of us, but... Eat my laser. I think I made it angry. Oh boy, I am so fucked. I'm so fucked. I am so, oh, we're living. Alright, we're still alive. Barrett is just literally standing in the open. Lots of headshots and some occasional deaths to dudes just hopping out on us. No! I would continue to progress through the act, fighting our way to the next Berserker boss fight. Unlike the last one though, which was mostly a breeze, this one would end up in a bit more of an enclosed area, and after some accidental deaths to the Hammer of Dawn... I don't know if this is gonna kill me. Oh. I would eventually get the Berserker to knock down enough of the pillars to make taking it out with the laser a lot easier, though we would make sure to pump our death total up to 107 before getting through the fight. Good thing I picked Dom up. Oh, he full killed Dom? What? Why did he predict? He predicted the movement. We did it! We did it! Whew. How many deaths was that, chat? Like at least 10, right?
How about we never do that again?
Yeah, that works.
Oh, that was bad. After some more pew pew and splody, we would progress all the way to the Phoenix Estate, where I'm pretty sure this was a multiplayer map back in the day. It's been a while though, so don't attack me. Fighting up and through the house was pretty basic, all the way until this section down here in the basement, where I needed to protect Jack while he cut open a door, and this section would prove to be no joke. Reason being is there was basically no good cover we could stand behind, with only a couple of really skinny pillars that didn't do a good job of blocking damage. But after a handful of deaths, I sort of got the hang of it, and it went like this. I don't know if that killed anything. No, kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him. Nice, Dom. Dom clutched up. Alright, we're living, we're living. Oh.
Nice.
Jack, hurry up with the door, brother. No! I jammed it. Alright, it was just waiting for us to kill him. Alright, let's continue on. After clearing this section out, we now headed back upstairs to help the boys out with the attacking locust, and we would basically just defend different sections of the house until we were ready to just full yeet it to the whip and run past all the remaining enemies, where we would get a nice little cutscene introducing us to the Brumac for the first time, which if I recall correctly, in the original Gears we never actually fought. However, seeing as we decided to do this on Gears Ultimate Edition, Act 5 would add a slew of chapters to the game, that were included in the PC version of Gears 1 back in the day, but weren't on the 360 version of the game. Now at 125 deaths, I would start Act 5 hoping to be in smooth sailing to complete the challenge. And honestly, Act 5 wasn't going too bad until we had our first encounter with the Brumac, where we would need to keep the Brumac away from Jack so he could do his little robot thing. To do this, we would need to slow the Brumac down by shooting it in the legs while also making sure not to die in the process, and this wasn't overly difficult, though I did have some weird deaths to it caused by the inability to take cover during the section.
Shoot the legs! It's still coming!
A couple tries later though, I was able to hold him off enough, progressing us to the next section of the level. Here we would get a cool combat section where I would need to deal with a cedar set in a theater location, and honestly this section wasn't too hard, especially once I realized all I had to do was shoot down the wall on top of the cedar, which would smack him into his little hole, and then I just needed to snipe the remaining enemies in the area. During all this though, Dom was just being a total badass down on the bottom and just running around like an invincible man. Following this, we would run into another one of those mandatory mantles, and come to think of it, there was actually a lot more of these in the added portions of Act 5 than I feel like we had seen during the rest of the game. Though obviously I would continue on fighting my way through a ton of locusts all the way to the power plant. Here we would enter the facility and have another difficult section, as the cover provided in this area just wasn't very useful, combined with the ample amount of Theron guards and some boomers thrown in. Directly after getting through this section though, we would get our second portion of the Brumac fight, where we actually had to take it down for good. We would need to do this by shooting off his guns and then eventually shooting him in the legs to knock him down and killing the driver. Similar to the earlier boss fight though, luckily, the lack of cover wasn't really an issue. Alright, Dom, you do something this time, okay, buddy?
Bring him down to our level so we can get a shot on him. Kill the driver! Let's take this guy out!
It sucks that by the time I get him knocked down, I have to reload.
Kill the driver!
Come on, how much health is oh, we got him. We got him, baby! This would take us to the infamous train, getting ready to fight Rom, who would be by far the most difficult part of this challenge, as Rom on Insane alone can be extremely difficult. But combine that with not taking cover meant we were in for an extremely rough time. But before we got to Rom, we would have to fight our way through the train, including another Berserker section.
Destroy it! Dragon there!
Wait, it just fell off the... Alright, that was easy. I would eventually get to Rom now sitting at 180 deaths. And let me explain what makes Rom so difficult, because to beat him in this challenge, you not only needed to be pretty skilled, but you also just needed good luck and RNG. So Rom has about 3 ways to kill you. He can shoot you with his minigun, he can send out Krill if you haven't popped his shield in a while, and sometimes during specific section, Krill will just come out of the sky if you're not standing in the light. On top of this, there's also Reavers that fly by that will shoot at you, so you kind of just have to hope they don't take you out. So to avoid dying to the Krill during both of the different sections, you have to be standing in the light like I mentioned. And if you're doing this fight normally, that means you can just crouch right behind this main cover outside of the door, as it has lights right behind it. But that section for us is pretty much useless, as it only being about waist high means Rom will just melt us with his minigun if we try to stand there. I figured out there are about 3 safe sections that you can use during this boss fight against Rom. There's this tall box on the left, there's the dumpster on the right, though he can shoot you over it, and then there's the complete other side of the train that has a troika and some various cover you can use. But the thing is that getting to that side of the train requires a ton of luck, as if you just try to run for it, Rom will absolutely melt you. So you need a combination of a decent distraction and just some good luck to give you enough time to be able to make it across the train. Starting this fight would be rough, as for a long time I didn't even know how to deal with the krill, and I was just constantly dying, to the point where on stream I literally thought this was going to be impossible and we were going to have to cancel the entire video. Is that not a light? Is that not a light? It's the final countdown. So the problem is, like, if it was just him, I think we could cycle it. But he sends out the krill, and as far as I can tell, I don't have a way to avoid dying to the krill. So I don't know if there's a way to avoid it, and it doesn't seem like you can get him to not send them either. So while we were trying to figure out how to deal with the krill, we're also trying to figure out the best way to deal damage to Rom himself. So to deal damage to Rom, you need to blow off his krill shield, either using a torque bow or a grenade, and then when the shield is gone, you just have to pump in as much damage as you can. Whether that's using the lancer or the sniper, you just try and put in as many bullets until that shield comes back up. Then you just rinse and repeat this until you can pump enough mags of damage into him, allowing you to take him down. So here's the problem with our run. With only a few sections of safe lights, basically anytime Rom would walk into certain angles, it was basically an instant fail, as I couldn't use the lights on the outside of the box to save me from the krill that either he was sending out or that were coming down from the sky. So more or less I needed him to stay somewhat to the right, while allowing us to pump in a ton of damage or be able to make a run for the Troika across the map. Now we did have some runs that got somewhat close. Sorry for your ears. I'm out of torque bow shots. The fuck? What do I do? He had to have been low, right? He had to have been low. Dom actually had him stuck. Like, I think that was the run. If I didn't miss so many torque bow shots, I think that could have been it. Oh, the reverse kill you. What? What? No! I went up when the crow was fucking coming. I'm so stupid. But after almost 3 hours and over 110 attempts, I finally got the God RNG, and this is how it went. Okay, this is gonna sound insane, but I feel like we've gotten slightly better at kiting him around, because we made it to the turret like twice in the past like 10 minutes, and that's more than the entire hour prior. So I feel like we're like improving, but I just don't know. I just don't know. That's all. That's the whole statement. I just don't know. Might be RNG. If Dom put in more damage or something, like if he just did anything of note, that'd be sick. Other than get in my way. Oh great. Alright, whenever Dom takes cover over here, it's just the whole run's just done. So just chalk it now. You can, in fact, weapon grenade tag him. You were asking earlier.
Behind us!
Holy shit. Holy shit. That was horrible. That was the worst thing ever, dude. Holy shit. The turret was clutch. The turret did it. The turret puts in damage, dude. Oh my god. So now 294 deaths and roughly 13 hours later, I had completed Gears Ultimate Edition without taking cover on Insane Solo. A task that I was unable to confirm if any others had done prior. So if this is a challenge that you've done before, obviously let me know in the comments, or if you've just seen someone do it before, I'm just curious if it's been done. But also Gears 1 has been out forever, so it's very possible it's just been buried on the internet. But if no one has done this before, I guess I'm the first person to do it. Overall, most of the challenge isn't much worse than regular solo Insane. It's just a lot slower with more unavoidable deaths. But that last ROM boss fight literally is why I even bothered to make this into a video, because it was just so insanely hard. There were so many points where I was on the verge of just giving up, but luckily for me, everyone chilling in chat was like super supportive, and it honestly kept me going. But yeah, that's Gears of War without taking cover. Let me know if you want to see Gears 2 and 3. I also want to make sure I give a shout out to the patrons over on Patreon. If you want to support the channel, that is a fantastic way to do it. You can get your name on the screen like these guys right here. And I also give early access to the videos when they're kind of done ahead of time, so you can see a video maybe a day or two before it comes out. With that said though, I hope to see you all next time.